got another project today. Pavers that I have for my steps, basically off my little landing off of my steps, off my back door. And they're just a little low. They're probably about anywhere, somewhere an inch, somewhere like an inch and a half, 2 inches. So I'm just gonna kind of rip them up and then reset them basically. Everything else on this step here is solid, like so all I really need to do is just this little like inset of like these pavers. So got a little bit of leveling sand over here. Got some poly sand for like to lock them all in place. Also going to replace this little lip here. There was a piece of wood there that just kind of rotted out. So I'm going to replace that with some just PVC 2x4. Scribe it in there, pop it in there, and we're good to go. Super simple project, but should be fun. All right. The easiest way that I found, you just take out a piece of chalk, label all your parts, and then you can rip them all out and stack them to the side, and you can kind of work on it. But as you can see, like this is low, this corner, but this is not as low, but it's still low. But this is where everything should be, and coming off level off that, it's not. Even these are a little unlevel, but at least they're pitched out, so I'm not really worried about those. Those are actually like firmly in place with some adhesive that was put in when it first installed, so I'm not even gonna mess with them. I'm literally just gonna mess with all these numbered blocks. Everything is low down here, and actually it's pitched back towards the house, so if I can get it up higher to at least pitch this way, it'd be good. Not that I'm having problems with water in here because I'm under an awning that has gutters up there, but you know, it can kind of help and just make this whole platform, which people kind of walk out onto out of my living room area, make it all kind of level for everyone. So I'm just going to pop all these up and then lay them aside, put some more sand in there and put them back in place and lock them on. I'll probably run a bead of some sort of silicone, or maybe even like you know, the rubberized caulk, the rubberized concrete stuff that they use here that I'll put, and I'll fill this lip in with some PVC. All right, so now I just took out all the bricks. They're all stacked up, and over here, particularly in the corners, nothing's level. You know, we're probably about 3 inches out. I need to be like much closer to that. So I want to fix all these corners. You can see that corner's the same way. So if you look over here, we're out as well in this corner as well. So, you know, there's a little bit of subsurface there. So I'm just trying to just fill it. I have plenty of sand to kind of fill it and put it in there. So that's what we're going to do, and then butt it all up and give ourselves a nice gap. I'm going to put everything tight towards this end, put the gap more towards the back so I can actually run a little bead down there too. All the stones came up real easy. They popped right up because nothing was holding them in place. They were just kind of just sitting there too. So there we go. All right. Yeah, now that I got this level, I actually got to level that part out a bit more. I'm kind of leveling as I go just to get a little, I'm just starting to put the pieces back together. So like I said, I numbered them, took a photo. I'm trying to build everything towards the front to give myself a little bit of a gap back there so I can drop some, not only some locking sand, but eventually I'm going to throw just a nice bead there. And then right here is going to have a piece of PVC trim because the wood there got rotted out. But that's basically what we do. It's just now essentially a giant big puzzle piece. Everything's level now, so it's level off to the sides. As you saw from the earlier video, like there was a solid 2.5 inch gap over here. Now it's level as it's going to be. So all right, because I was tightening up all the cracks around here, I have a solid 3/4 inch, almost a full inch there of a gap that I clearly don't want. This is the end. This is rumbled stone, gray, just like a regular gray, which I could probably find at the big box store. So I just went to the big box store and I got a new one. This is obviously not as weathered, but it's basically the same gray, and it'll give it a couple weeks and it'll be weathered as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just cut a new one of these, a new one of those, and just pop a whole new slab in there, and that way it can all stay really tight, because that's what I want. I want this whole thing to be really tight. So I was wondering if that was going to happen, and it did. So we adapt and overcome. So I'm going to cut out one of these. I'm going to just cut out a little bit bigger, just a piece of this, a little inch bigger, and we'll pop it in there. Just gonna cut along that line. All right, so the second cut went much better than the first cut. I used my grinder because I didn't feel like bringing out my entire wet soft work. But here's the piece, and it's not as deep as the original piece. You know, probably by like a 1/4 inch. So I got to put a little bit more sand in there. But the good news is the piece that I broke right there, I can still use for back there because I still need to get a piece for back there. So I can still use it. As you can see, that's the old one. This is the new one. So difference in thickness is probably like a 1/4 inch. So I got to make that up. That's why I'm putting the sand down there. Put more sand down to make it work. Here's a new piece that I cut. Time to see if it fits. Ooh, it fits good. There's still a big gap on there. I don't like that. I'm gonna throw some more sand under there. Man, I'm gonna have to build up more sand than I thought I was gonna have to. Okay, let's see now. Oh, I feel good about this. Much better. Got it. And that's about it. You really just want to get it in the grooves. This, again, I just put a bunch in that back groove, but that's all going to be not see. I'm going to try to get that all. This is all going to be covered. So I'll actually see if I can get some more to spread out, so I can get some more down in there. Some more of the caulking down in there. That's the whole idea. Just you got to get very wet. I mean, not very wet, just a little wet. Spritz it, get a little wet, let it dry a little bit, and then I'm going to probably take another I'll take the leaf blower of this again and blow it all out. But this is just to kind of like lock these all in place, even though they're kind of jammed in there really tight. This was just kind of lock them in place. The previous steps weren't like that, and as you can see, these grout lines can kind of get a little bit big. So, but they also like run out over the eave. As crappy as it sounds, I can't really address that because otherwise I'm just literally, I have to rip the whole thing apart, and I just wanted to redo this insert so it's actually at least set flush. So that's it. We gotta wait for this to dry a little bit, and then I'll figure out something up here. Take some measurement, whether I'm using like, you know, 1x3 or 1x4. I think I'm going to probably end up doing like a 1x2. I have some scrap PVC laying around, so I might not even need to go buy anything new for that. So gotta give this a little chance to dry a little bit. I don't want to broom it too much because I'll be brooming stuff out of cracks and whatnot, but that's the general thing. This is polymeric sand. It basically is like sand with like an additive that kind of almost like hardens like concrete once it gets dried. Okay, so it's the next day. Everything had a chance to cure, and it's looking nice and strong, even though it rained a little bit last night, but nothing major. So next step, I'm going to take this back crack that kind of like touches right against the flashing, and I want to throw some concrete crack sealant in there, some quick-rete stuff. You get a variety of different stuff. Eucalyptus is one of them. There's a bunch of different stuff you can use there. Basically, you just need something that kind of like seals and waterproofs. So whatever your du jour is and your type is, you can use that one. My dog Darby barking at me, scratching. She wants outside. So yeah, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just cut this off, cut the tip off, put it on there very, very liberally, so it's nice, because like whatever I put in there, I'm gonna kind of cover up with some trim, so it's not gonna be a big deal. But I want to just kind of really fill in this crack, the gap, which I probably have about a 1/2 inch gap back there. So I'm just gonna like go to town, put it all in there, and then we should be good to go. Let that dry a little bit. Then I'll throw some PVC trim up there, then that'll be our final step. So what I want to do is I want to take a measurement here, and I want to take a measurement here, and kind of like cut a piece that kind of fits in there. I'm not going to scribe it because I want it to be tight to the bottom to kind of cover up the little gap that we have here. There used to be a piece of pressure treated there. Pressure treated doesn't look terribly well these days, so I'm going to actually put that in there, and then we'll just kind of build it out. I might need to come out. Yeah, I got about 1.5 inches, so I actually might need to put maybe possibly 2 pieces of PVC back there, or at least some backers behind it. But the measurements real quick, I got 2 3/4 and 2 3/4. So maybe if I cut it a little bit half, so actually I don't need to actually do any sort of scribing because I actually have a flat run under there. So maybe I go maybe like 2.5 to kind of accommodate the ability to slide everything in there, cut everything back, and that'll give me a little bit of a lip here. But then it'll protect on this. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go 2 and maybe 1/2, or maybe like 2 5/8. Maybe 2 5/8 actually might be a little bit better. Give me a little bit of room in there. But that being said, don't need to do anything other than that. So we're going to cut the PVC. We're going to slap it in there. We can throw some glue, probably a trim screw or 2 to hold in place until the glue dries. Maybe if I feel like plugging the holes. If not, I'll throw a brad or 2 in there to work it out. All right, so a couple days have passed. It's been relatively wet here the last couple days, so I didn't really get a chance to get out here. But you know, in the meantime, the poly sand has hardened. It's concrete based, so everything is level, as you can see. And up in here, which I did not record, but this is the byproduct and the finished product of it. This is the PVC trim. So this is basically a 3-inch trim, which technically comes up to like, I think it's 3.5 or 3 3/4, or I think I ripped it down. I'm sorry, 2.5, 2 3/4. I ripped it down to like 2 5/8 just to kind of give some clearance, because like over here you have a little bit more of a gap than we did say like here in the middle, just because of the way everything wasn't perfectly level. But this, it basically provides just a nice little like edging to it all. Darby saying hello. I had to beef it out a little bit, so I put a little strip in the back when I put that in there with screws, but I actually glued this to that strip with some vinyl adhesive, so that's not going to go anywhere. And I wedged it up there, put some wedges under there to let it dry in place. But yeah, now it's nice and flush. Some caulking under here. You know, do I really need caulking under there? Since there's flashing right behind it, no, probably not, but I caulked it anyway just to give it like a little bit more of a finished look. But you know, you have almost no gap here and probably like, you know, a 1/16 over there. So it does pitch a little bit this way, and it does pitch a little bit that way, but that's also not the end of the world because the water's kind of like pitching away from there. But that's basically it. So as you can see, come back, this used to be from the before photo, which maybe I'll throw up there. This used to be down there about 2 inches on either side, sunken. So took all this out, put it all in there. Now that's the finished product. So it looks good. The dog approves. Total hours of work with drying of things, you know, maybe a day actual time. Took me almost no time to put it all together, but you know, it took a decent chunk to dry. But in general, you know, you can do this all on the weekend if you have a nice warm weekend where everything can dry. On to the next project, but we're done.